We're going to go ahead and call today's workshop to order. This is a workshop of the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners. It's Monday, June 17, 2024 at 1 p.m. If everybody could please stand for the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We will take a brief moment of silence. This is a brief moment for individual prayer, reflection, or meditation. We take this time to honor and remember our first responders and the men and women in our military who keep us safe and protect our freedoms at home and abroad. All right, thank you. All right, we will turn the discussion over to administration. Ms. Petito, this is a general fund budget discussion. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you. Thank you all for being here. We're going to take a quick look at the general fund budget for fiscal year 25. We've got some budget highlights to go over, and then we'll get into the individual department budgets. So looking at some of the budget highlights, we're looking at a 3.9% cost of living adjustment that was presented earlier at another meeting where we look back at the March Southern Index to see what that was trending like. So we're at 3.9% for next year. We did have some slight FRS increases. Our health insurance, which we had reported on previously, is going up slightly, about $2,100 per person. It's similar percentage to last year's increase. It's a shared increase between the employer and the employee. And we had departments submit detailed budget submittals, and if there were any new asks in addition to what they previously had, we asked them to put together a decision unit to explain the needs so that we could weight those. Final decision has not been made on all of those decision units. As we get closer to the July 1st and we determine how much money we have available in maintaining the direction that the board had previously provided, we'll take a look at those and make some final decisions. So looking at the general fund budgets, this is what had been requested by your departments. So we've got administration going up by about 10%, and then you've got economic development going up 3%, your emergency management going up 14%. I should include, though, that administration, it's not just administration, admin, my office. It includes the commission. It includes administration. It includes legal and our communications division. So that's 4 different budgets rolled up into one representing administration. When you look at engineering, that went up 5%. You also have your extension services, which are out at the Ag Extension Office. Financial services includes the Office of Management and Budget, as well as the Office of Procurement and Contracts, and that budget went up 7%. Fire rescue, which includes fire admin, fire rescue, EMS, and firefight, went up 2%. And then your general services, which includes your facilities, your fleet, the GSB, all of your parks, your Princess Place, Bull Creek, public transportation, all rolled up. That budget went up 12%. And then your health and human services, which includes HHS admin, social services, senior services, adult daycare, and congregate meals. That went up 1%. And then looking at the next section, human resources this year includes human resources as well as veteran services. Combined, those went up 15%. Your innovation technology includes, in addition to IT, you've got your drones, your GIS, cybersecurity, which was a new one, and then we've actually carved out your IT capital replacement. And so that in total went up 14%. And then you've got your land management went up, or actually went down 17%. And that's primarily due to some reorganization. As you're aware, we promoted Mike Lagacy. We did not fill that position in that department, so there is a savings there, as well as some other things. And then your library services, that includes both branches, your Palm Coast and your Bunnell branch. That went up 5%. And then you've got some other miscellaneous items, which includes your tax increment financing, your value adjustment board, inmate medical insurance, your medical examiner, some internal sheriff's office charges, as well as some court-related expense. Overall, that fund went up 5%. Then you also have your pooled expenditures, and then your interfund transfers that had gone, excuse me, that had gone down. So now we'll look at each one of these a little bit closer. So the,
Just, excuse me.
Go ahead.
I understand, I think I understand tourist, but did we have one on airport here?
that's a non-general fund, so that was your previous, I think maybe two
And
meetings ago.
tourist office is same,
Separate,
and they're
right,
funded separately.
right.
Okay.
Yep. I think we did,
Including all the personnel.
including the operation and the personnel.
Okay.
I think we reported on it, it might have been 2 workshops ago. It was before the constitutionals.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
So this is a look at the Board of County Commission, went up slightly, about 12%. This is a look at administration, went up about 4%. Communications, we've added an additional employee in this division. That one went up 15%. This is your county attorney's office at just under 14%. Any
Yeah,
questions?
The lawyer had, the legal office had 4 employees. Is that true? I thought they just
They-
had 3.
They had 4 employees in legal. That's correct. Yeah, I'm talking about communications, now has 3.
No, under county attorney, when I was going through that budget, it listed 4. I thought that lady left.
Miss Moore.
We're still filling the position. We have a new person scheduled to come on.
Okay.
They're budgeted for 4
Right, it's
positions.
budgeted for 4. Right.
Yes, we just
Okay.
currently have a vacancy. I believe they come on July, sometime in July.
Okay, great, thanks.
Your economic development in total went up a little over 2%. And then you've got your financial services. This is the Office of Management and Budget, which went down about 9%. And then this is the other side of financial services, which is your Office of Procurement and Contracts. That one went up 22%. And here's a look at human resources. They did submit some decision units that we were able to fund primarily for training, conferences, notary.
Before you move forward, questions?
Sure.
So on human resources, just a couple of things. I noticed that the training and educational costs, publications and memberships are going up $32,000 this year. Does anybody, are you aware of what memberships we're adding? Is that a one-time cost?
One of them that would be probably the largest chunk, you'll see it at the bottom as one of their decision units. And it's actually a subscription. It's part of our recruitment to be able to advertise for vacancies to a broader audience. That's probably the largest part of it. It's about $15,000.
Yeah, it seems excessive, $32,000 a year to advertise for those little jobs we have. But then the next one is $63,000 for the employee development and other trainings. Is that the leadership coming back this year? Even though I think we were participating in the clerks, or I'm sorry, the other leadership program. Are we bringing that back again?
We actually brought it back, I want to say maybe 2 years ago. So we have leadership training now. We have two different programs. It's different than the one that the tax collector has. Although we did have 2 employees attend that one, it's in partnership with Daytona State, that program. This is more probably like conference style leadership. It spans over, I don't remember how many weeks it is, might be 16 weeks, but it's more of creating succession planning and instilling leadership qualities into the staff that we have. So we have 2 different programs. One is more of an entry-level leadership training, and then the other one is for people that may be relatively new managers or new supervisors. It gives them some tools and instills in them kind of the culture of the organization.
Yeah, just my take on it. 17% increase in HR, $1 million budget for our HR. It's just, it seems excessive. That's my comment there.
Well, I
And
think,
you know, especially when we're trying to find merit increases and things. But that's my only comment on that one. Now, just the other gentleman want to say something, but that one caught me off guard.
Yeah.
How much
Oh.
that is?
Also, there was we paid 25,000 to the school board every year, and then this year we're not. Is there a reason for that?
are you talking about the swimming pool, the
I don't
swimming
know. It was
racket
in-
club?
It just said under human resources, and it said to school board, and we had given them $25,000, and then this year zero.
It wouldn't be in human resources, it was in
Social services.
social services, human services. It was the component that we paid.
Oh, yeah, it was health and human services, I'm sorry. It
Right,
was a
health and
different-
human
different-
services.
Different box, yeah, I'm sorry.
It's the 25,000 that we would give them for the Belterre Swim and Racket Club as an offset for seniors that were using that facility.
Right,
It's my understanding that that component has gone away or is
right.
no
it
longer being
has.
offered.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
No problem.
Sorry for jumping ahead.
No problem. I think the bulk of the expense that you see with that training program, staff development, it could be spread out into the different departments that we send employees to the program, but it's easier to keep track if we invest that money in training our staff and putting it in one bucket, which is why you see it in
Yeah,
HR.
it's just that we've gone up 400,000 since 21-22 for an HR department, and I don't know that. I mean, it's just a lot. That's all. But it's okay. It really caught me off guard. It's as big as the attorney budget, but okay. Sorry, we can keep going.
So this is a look at your veteran services. It's also supported through human resources or HR. That has a 6% increase. We were able to get them some software that will help them with VA claim, people that come in that need assistance in navigating through their VA claims. Then you have land management, which actually went down by 27%. And
Oh.
that's,
I have a question on that.
Sure.
There- Of the various developments in the south, I think there are parks, Bulow, Graham Swamp, Haw Creek, Hunters Ridge, Malacompra. Hunters Ridge was over $500,000. What are we doing there? I mean, the whole bill was $871,000 and $535,000 of that was at that one place. That's a big bill.
well, I think there was some land management stuff that they had to work on creating a master plan, which will then have to be updated periodically. I don't know, Mike Lagacy, if he wants to come up and,
Yeah, I mean, if you look at all the other parks, they're, 30,000, 1,000, 51,000. And Hunter's Ridge just stands out at 535,000.
Hey,
Michael, explain yourself.
Mike Lagacy, Assistant Director, General Services. I have a question. I don't know exactly the number you're talking about. Is that an account balance or is that an expense that you're seeing?
It's an expense.
Maybe they can pull up the backup from today's meeting to get to this page where it's
It's
broken
on
out.
natural resource land.
I don't know if
I can't think of an expense. Well, I'd have to look into that, and I'd be glad to get back to you. I don't know that we would.
Oh, here comes Sherry. Here comes Sherry.
Excuse me?
I think got
Behind
an
you.
answer coming.
Da-da-da.
Brian Eckinger, Financial Services. Land management over the years has received a bunch of funding for geographically restricted funding, ULO, tortoise sites, those things. We put it to show the entire dollar amount that they have for those sites. So
All sites.
if he has to do a master plan update, that's where the money would come from each individual geographic location.
But if you look at the breakout, so professional services, again, they stand out. $256,598. And
So that's money they received for that specific property, so it would have to remain there. Doesn't mean that he's going to use it in this particular year, but it gives him the ability to do so because it has to stay on that property.
it has to stay with that Hunter's Ridge.
Yeah.
And
Due
where
to
did it come from?
DRI.
Where do we get that?
I believe it's DRI settlement. Yeah.
Oh, it's funds from the DRI.
DRI.
So it's just rolling right now.
Okay.
Got it.
All right. Got it. Thank you.
Did you need that page brought up?
No,
or
no, that makes
Okay.
sense. Yeah, sorry.
And then here's a look at the natural resource land. This one also went down a little over 10%. This is another land management account. And now we'll start taking a look at your IT department. So this is the main IT department. Starting in fiscal year '25, we're going to be splitting it into 6 different divisions, which will just provide a little bit more level of control. Overall, this one's going down 21%, but you'll see it's probably, some of these expenditures are moving. They do have one decision unit that they submitted, which is for a junior database administrator. It's one of the pending decision units as we work towards the budget. This is a look at the GIS division, which is one of the new ones that we set up this year. This is a look at your cybersecurity, which has gone up about 37%. They also have a pending decision unit for a cybersecurity engineer.
What are the current FTEs in these new divisions?
In
that-
your cyber, I believe you have 2 right now. And in GIS, I think you have 5. 4 in
This is-
GIS.
Now,
I
you
noted-
could tell in the budget where they were breaking stuff out, but I couldn't tell where it was going.
Yeah, so if you go back to the beginning, where this one shows that it went down, a lot of that expense, as it got broken out of IT, is going to be going into this department here, which is a new one. And then your cyber existed last year, so it's not a new department. It's just that the expenditures went up.
But if you could comment on how many people are in each one of these new divisions, I think that would help a little bit, for me anyway.
This one says 1.70 FTE from the reorg.
Where'd you see that?
Part of-
on my breakout.
Oh,
that- yeah,
okay.
it would've been,
I missed that.
And then it looked like they, between, I guess, bringing that split you did from the other department.
I missed that. Is it in here? It's on the budget?
And then they had some increases in licensing and annual scripts, like $200,000. But before the meeting, I spoke with them, and it's like Windows and all that's being carried out of that one department over to here.
Right.
Yeah. So that's why it looks like a larger increase, but it's the split and moving.
Is that why it's like 1.7 FTE?
Yeah, it says 1.70
Right.
FTE on this one.
This one, yeah, I see that.
I don't have the one for GS. I didn't. That one explains that one for me. The increase was the split over. It's hard to follow because they're
Yeah, it's,
moving
yeah,
everything
they're
into
all,
new departments.
and they're all fractions. 3.35, 1.7,
It's just to account for their time, and some of them,
Understand that.
we end up providing services, like in the case of Flagler Beach, where they pay a portion of a salary and then we cover the other portion. So there's like a reimbursement and just the way of record keeping of how they do it.
Okay.
This is another division in IT, and this is the project management side.
This says 1.70 FTE
Yeah, 1.70.
on this one.
And then this is your IT public safety, which existed previously. And you have 3 employees in that department or division. And then another IT division. This is your drone.
So this one I had a question on. This is a new, right? This is
Correct.
Bruno. What I remember the logic, some of it. The return on investment is that we're no longer going to go outside for a third-party vendor to shoot.
The LiDAR for the coastline.
Yeah, the coastline issues,
Mhm.
right? And so there should at some point return on investment come into this because we were paying.
Yeah, it wouldn't necessarily come back to IT because that cost was a cost that was coming out of engineering.
Yeah.
So any time that we had to fly and do LiDAR to look at the volume or calculate the loss of beach, there was a fee that we were paying a contractor
Yeah.
to do. So over time, this will save you money, but you're not going to see that money necessarily come back into this
That's
account.
right. You'll never see it back in the fund, but maybe just for even future boards because it's new and it's one of those weird things. Why do we need a drone, right? Somebody might not know that, but you should always keep track of where you saved, how many times a year you shot, what it cost us, the estimated to save on a vendor because we know it, but others may not know it. So that's what I was thinking about it. It's not that I remembered the return on investment will be good because we'll save on vendors, but it is a necessity.
It's a cost avoidance. It's a
Yeah,
cost avoidance.
right? That's
Yeah. It's a good point.
yeah. I just didn't like when somebody think we
Right.
had no, we were spending a lot of money with our projects.
So in that department, you have 1 employee right now.
Yeah. You know?
And then we're going to take a look at Health and Human Services. This is the administration side of HHS. That department went up roughly almost 6%, a little under 6. And then you've got Human Services, which pretty much stayed the same. It's a slight decrease. And then here's a look at your Senior Services. Another slight increase. Here's a look at the adult daycare. Went up about 2%. And then you've got through HHS your congregate home delivered meals.
That's the total operating, but at some point you have grants, right, for this program or correct or no?
There is some funding that comes in. I don't think that we were showing the revenues for the department, so I don't have that in front of me.
That's right. Yeah.
You'll see that with the tentative budget. And then that brings up the start of the library. This is a look at your Palm Coast Library. Slight increase, 5%.
Do we know what the impact's going to be with the new library? She's got this is not really for this budget, but she has 13 employees now. Is that for the new library? Is that going to double? We're going to be at 26 employees.
I'm not sure how many employees total she has, but
We've got 13 now.
have Holly come up and explain. I know that she relies a lot on automation and
Volunteers
self-serve
too.
checkouts and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
This has come up before.
Hello, Commissioners. Holly Oldnese, Library Director. We have 18 total employees between 2 facilities. When we open the new Nexus Center, we'd like to have 6 additional employees. We're going to move 3 or 4 employees from the Palm Coast location in conjunction with the 2 that are already in Bunnell.
Bunnell, yeah.
And so if we could add somewhere around 6, that might give us the staff that we need to open at least 40 hours a week to begin with.
You're saying 6 on top of bringing over from the Palm Coast number and the Bunnell number.
We'd be bringing 3 from Palm Coast, 2 from Bunnell, that's 5,
Right.
along with 6. That would give us 11 to oversee that facility with youth services. You have children's and teens. We also have passport service that we'll be running there, as well as circulation research. So a lot of the similar things. And the staff in the library will be overseeing the conference portion of it and having to schedule all of that as well. We are going to a self-serve model as much as we can in both facilities. So we're bringing in some self-check units, which should help the staff at the front desk. They can then go on the floor and help the public right where they need the help.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And then here's a look at your Bunnell branch. Went up a little over 2%. And then here's a look at your engineering department. Went up about 5%. They do have a pending decision unit for engineering services. Then here's a look at emergency management. Overall, it went up about 14%. And then here's a look at fire rescue administration. Slight decrease. And then in fire rescue, you've got a slight decrease, but you'll see that offset in the EMS side of it. There's some pending decision units in that department.
Can you explain a little bit more of that, at least the decrease and have,
For the union rates.
You'll see it on the next slide here. The way it's broken out, there's a shift where when you look at the calls, a lot of it had to do probably with the shifting of personnel. So if you go back and you look here, you can see that the personnel cost went down about $2 million in the fire side. And now you see it went up in the EMS side because that's really where your calls are for service. Majority is EMS. So it's just the pro rata or the amount that you're charging here versus the other. I don't know if you have anything specific. I could have somebody.
well, that's the trend, right? With growth in Palm Coast, they're going to have fire service, but we have to provide the EMS. So
Correct.
EMS is going to be outgrowing our fire service in proportionally that way.
I'd say you're probably correct. I know this year we stepped up another unit in Palm Coast to add one to Station 25, just south of Royal Palm on Belterre. But as you see that population change, you will see that growing, so.
I have one question just on the fire.
Hold on.
And
Commissioner Sullivan.
2 or 3 years ago, we got that grant to increase the number of personnel in the fire department. And then as time goes along, it shifts to our responsibility to pay for those individuals that we hired.
It's
Has that
current-
all been incorporated now? Are we
Yes.
done with that?
Yes, that was the SAFER grant. And so this is the year that you've taken on that responsibility. The difference, I guess, between the fire and EMS, it was typically split 50-50, We've now realigned it where it's 70-30 because 70% or more is probably EMS related. So that's why you're seeing the expense go up in the EMS side.
And as we build the new fire station where we're going to have the fire station headquarters or the fire department headquarters, is that going to change the personnel at all from what we have now?
No.
And then we set that place up.
No, it's going to be across the street. So essentially they're going to give up their offices that exist now
Right.
at the EOC. And the staff will be relocated across the
But we
street.
don't see a change in staff because of a new building or.
No, you have the staff that you currently have at Station 62 across the street we're in the old Bunnell Fire Station. We're using that station. That staff and equipment will be housed at the new facility. And then I think there's plans to use the old station for some logistics. So no new staff, although they do have some decision units that are pending.
And this includes the rolling stock, right? So we're having to add 3 new rescue units, new ambulances, this increase. From
In the
what I-
capital side, yes.
Yeah.
Although we brought forward to you, we anticipated ordering 3 rescues. The board gave the approval to go ahead and move forward with one of them. So had anticipated buying 3, but we've already kind of purchased one or moved forward with the replacement of one a little sooner.
Yeah, so that's the overall increase because each ambulance unit's estimated at 430,000. So there's still 2 more to acquire.
And then this is a look at your Fireflight. The main decrease there is you had capital for the replacement of the helicopter last year. That's why you have such a big decrease.
Yep.
And then here's a look at your extension services, which is in partnership with UF-IFAS. And then it starts general services. This is a look at administration. You've got a slight decrease there. And then you've got fleet management.
Quick question on general services.
Sure.
There's janitorial services appear on several lines in general services under this deal. Is there one contract for this whole building?
For this building, we share it with the school board. So we maintain the common areas and our side that we're responsible for, and then the school board maintains their side.
What about
So-
the tax collector and the SOE, those buildings?
I
Those-
believe they're receiving the same service as our vendor, since we're responsible for their square footage.
And we're paying for that?
We do pay for that, yes.
The tax collector's contracting out for her own cleaner.
Okay.
Does that change our budget at all? I don't,
Probably not significantly
significant.
enough.
okay. All right.
So here's a look at fleet, went up a little over 2%. They've got some pending decision units for staff, as well as equipment. And then here's a look at public transportation. And then you've got your facilities
Just
management.
before, excuse me,
Mm-hmm.
just before you go by the public transportation,
Mhm.
I think there's something going on there with a grant where we might be able to get some additional funding. I'm trying to remember for some little different services. Does that make sense? I remember.
5307 funding.
Yeah. How does that change this at all?
It's not reflective in here because we haven't gotten that grant yet. We're currently working with FDOT and Cutter through that process.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that relates to equipment or personnel and that kind of thing, but it's just kind of, that's why I mentioned it, because it
Yeah,
seems like it's something new.
It's
there.
something we've been working on for probably at least 5 years. We are getting a little bit closer with getting that done. It would be significant dollars, but it would require you to hire a lot of additional staff.
Right, because it's additional services.
Correct. And it's one of the challenges that we have with public transportation is finding drivers
Yep.
because the salary
They
is
just hired a
relatively
couple.
low. We did, and I think they may have both already resigned, so it is a challenge. It's hard to recruit.
I know, yeah.
So
The ones we just hired resigned?
I believe so.
Uh,
Yeah,
Can we go back to fleet?
sure.
So I guess if we could maybe come back for a little extra analysis. When we updated fleet and switched over to the lease program, we were going to realize some savings on maintenance costs because of the getting rid of the older vehicles and whatnot. So at some point, when are we able to get the real-time equivalent costs of projected savings versus actual savings? And are we still increasing? Are we still maintain our vehicles, sheriff's vehicles? And I know the need for the additional maintenance tech, is it for additional vehicles on the sheriff's side? If we've got newer vehicles, I think part of what we talked about was the newer lease vehicles and less maintenance. So just want to make sure we have justification. If it's more vehicles, if we've got more in fleet now.
To try to answer some of it, the operating costs of fleet maintenance are not in fleet's budget. Those are carried in every department. So every department that has a car or truck has their own line item for repairs to their vehicle as well as fuel. So if there is a savings, you would see it reflective in each individual department's budget in that line item. So it's not something that you could wrap up and see it in fleet because it's not reflective there. Of the vehicles, we have, I believe it's like 360 pieces of equipment. We're only leasing right now 40 vehicles, 40,
Okay.
41 vehicles. So we still have quite a bit of old equipment and trucks. This particular position here is more of a maintenance tech position. It's somebody to help with keeping up with the cleanliness of the vehicles. One of the requirements that we have for public transportation is washing the buses inside and out. Due to the staffing challenges that we have and maybe even the safety of having a bus driver clean their bus, it doesn't always make it practical. So this particular position is more of a maintenance. It's not a mechanic. It's somebody that would help with the overall appearance, cleanliness of all county vehicles, including those buses. So it's not for anything other than that.
Okay.
I don't know if you had any other questions on fleet, if I forgot one.
No, that's okay.
Okay.
That's it for now.
I think we talked about public transportation a little bit, slight increase, about 6.5%. I think we were up to facilities. Looking at facilities, this is increasing by 18%. There's a lot of decision units there that are pending, the need for additional staff in both facilities and in parks.
I have a question on facilities management. The utilities expenses went up much more than they have in previous years to 175,000 based on 2-year actuals. Is there any way to avoid the utility expenses? I mean, what is that from exactly to have such a large jump? I mean, I know what utilities are, but I'm asking, is there something identified that's costing us so much more? Is it new buildings coming on board? Is it?
I don't know if the sheriff's office was paid for the whole year. It may not have been, depending on when it came online. I don't know if,
So we're covering utilities over there, you think?
All of the water, sewer, and electric of every building
Okay.
is pretty much running through this department, with the exception of maybe EOC.
Mike, did you want to clarify?
Yeah, I would clarify. Yeah, that's one of the buildings. So we have another 52,000 square foot that we brought on. So
Got
that's a
it.
big expense.
Yeah, and that's something we have to really think about as we bring on new fire rescue buildings,
All facilities.
all of it, all those facilities that are coming.
Yeah, it's got to be budgeted. So everything we
Yeah.
build is going to add cost. So
Yeah. No, I figured it had to be something we were adding on because the 2-year actuals couldn't go up that much.
okay.
That makes sense. No, thanks. I was just asking.
All right. Thank you.
And then the historic courthouse, the insurance went up again, 26,000. So something to think about when we look at that lease again.
And then here's a look at the GSB, or the Government Services Building. Slight increase, a little over 6%. Then you've got your recreation facilities. Here's where you've got 5 more decision units for staffing and equipment. Budget went up 20%. Then you've got your vessel registration.
Question. Some of this can be directed back to the Parks Master Plan. There was a lot of data that was supplied back through the Parks Master Plan on the quality of the parks and different maintenance. Is some of this reflected back in some of the results of surveys and investigation through the Parks Master Plan where we've got to increase maintenance in parks and rec?
I don't recall what the capital expense was. I don't know that, I can't think of any specific projects that are tied to the park master plan or improvements. I know that we're working on some stuff at Bing's right now, but I think this is really just the ongoing expenditures that they have. Off the top of my head, I don't know what was in capital and parks.
I think it was just a sense of the quality of the facilities, the maintenance, the upkeep, and if this was a result of just trying to catch up on deferred maintenance, or we just need more staff to keep up with what we have.
Well, I think it's twofold. The capital, like your CIP capital projects, wouldn't be here. This is just regular
Right.
day-to-day operating. I think the need to keep up and to maintain them without killing the staff that we have is the reason why they're asking for additional people. So I think in parks, they were looking at four additional FTEs, and that's really for grounds maintenance. So that's like your folks to keep up with maintaining trails and mowing your parks. And then on the facility side was more of the trades workers that do more maintenance and construction. But these were for grounds. This would be your mow crew with a trailer and equipment.
Thank you.
And we saw vessel registration. Then you've got Carver, which went up slightly, just under 2%. Then you've got Bull Creek Fish Camp. And then Princess Place. And then this is a look at your cottages at Princess Place. And that's offset by the rental fees.
Yeah, that's missing from here.
And then here's a look at your pooled expenditures.
I have a question in the pooled expenditures. The Dory Schlossberg, which is where we give aid to the school board for driver's ed, it went up 91,000. I was looking at our ordinances, and I guess that's offset by the ordinance where we're collecting $5 over at the DMV to go towards that, correct? So
Correct.
This expense is really offset by the collection at the DMV. I just want to make sure that.
It is, and we've actually reached out to the school board because in the past several years, they haven't put forth a request for
the
those
money.
funds. So when we reached out to them, it appears that they're no longer doing driver's ed. Now, when you look at the ordinance, it includes not just public schools, but private schools. So I know that staff has already reaching out to other schools, private schools, to see if they offer any driver ed type programs. If not, then we're probably going to have to do some change to the ordinance.
Yeah, or I don't know if I know the sheriff has a driver's ed now. I don't know if it's part of his budget. Just saying.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm
Now
not familiar
offering
with it.
drivers defensive driving for teens.
It would still require us to,
Right, change
Probably
the
change
ordinance. Yeah, because
something.
I read through the
I
ordinance.
think it's through state too, isn't it? I think it might be through state statute.
I just
so-
wanted to make sure that, because the ordinance is old, it's like 2006, that we weren't just paying this out of the general fund, that it was coming in through the clerk.
That's correct.
Okay.
And then this is your tax increment value. And then your value adjustment board. And this is your interfund transfers. Your medical examiner.
Just a question on that one. What occurred there? It went up 133,000, the contract. Is that what happened
We did
for medical
have,
examiner?
we did have an increase in the contract, correct?
Wow.
And had a new one.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, but
You have a new E. ME.
has it always been St. John's, us,
That's incredible.
in Putnam? We're not Volusia? I thought originally we were with Volusia
I think,
on that. No,
as far as I know, it's just those three that
Right.
are part of it.
right. You know, we're paying for more than just the doctor, right? I mean, it seems kind of high if we're paying if that expense is just for the medical examiner.
I think it's the cost of running that program in total, and then
Right.
it's just our proportionate share of whatever their total budget is.
Yeah, it's 658,000 for the medical examiner
Right.
and 70,000 for transport, and then 25,000 towards the medical examiner's building.
Going back several slides, and you don't have to go back, but how does the burial for indigent fit into that? Into the medical examiner? Does that, he determines that we determine somehow it's a dead person, he makes the decision, he sends the body back to us?
The indigent burial, I think, runs through HHS, not through the ME's office.
Right, it doesn't. I saw that. It's in the other section, but is there a connection between the two?
I'm just wondering, because you entered into an interlocal in 2011, because I'm sure we were a small county and there was no need for a medical examiner. But now you're looking at a cost share of almost 800,000. You know, I don't know if it's less expensive to go into
the guy on when
Well,
yeah.
did
when
that?
when it was time to select the new one, there was a selection
Yeah.
committee.
No, I'm just wondering if some in the future, if this is typical for a county our size to share, and or would it be less expensive to have some sort of medical? Is there lesser expensive? That's it. It's just a question. We need 800,000 to share a medical examiner. What do I know? I don't know. Just a
lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
Well, it wouldn't hurt to have to inquire and bring the ME to come to a commission meeting, at least to update. I mean, it's great knowledge. I mean, I learned a lot when we did the selection committee, but the fact of staff and the office and
we
the
don't
function
really-
and everything.
Now that I think about it, you'd have to have a building,
Right.
and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Have them come give a-
Yeah.
Have them come give a
It's a lot.
presentation.
Yeah, makes sense.
We can reach out and certainly see if he's
Crazy.
able to come out,
If
give an
he's
update.
What did he say?
Ball bearing.
So we need a freezer building. What's the break even for debts? That's the bottom line.
It's crazy though. It's you know, everybody's talking about taxes and you're like, you know, I was looking at the cost of having medicines on ambulances. You know, no one thinks about that, or the cost of oxygen went up so much that we need on the ambulances.
Mhm.
And it's just all the little things that just across the board that keep going up. So, yeah.
This is some of the internal charges, some of the expense that we have that's in support of the sheriff's office. We maintain their fleet, so some of those charges run through here.
This is, I mean, just so if somebody's wondering, this is stuff that's not in the sheriff's budget.
Correct.
Does it show up when we show the pie chart?
It is.
It
yes.
shows up in the sheriff's, yeah, okay, good.
It gets reported to the state as being for law enforcement when we go to report it.
Yeah.
So it's in that pie chart. But like his utility expense and some of that stuff might run through here as well, in addition to fleet. And then here's a look at your law enforcement education funds. And then the cost of insurance that's gone up. And then the next step. So we have a date set aside for another workshop. It's going to be on June 24th. If there's additional information or things that you would like me to focus on and bring back to you. And then we're scheduled to have on July 15th, present you with the tentative budget.
So I guess if there's homework for the administrator, if there's some other things, I've got a list of things that I've written down, but if you want to go, Commissioner
Well, I
Sullivan,
just have one, you know, but
Go ahead.
wherever was ever next.
it doesn't matter, go ahead.
We just finally got the governor signed the budget, and we know where the cuts are and what things we got. Does any of that impact that now that we know what the final budget is, does any of that impact our budget this year?
Well, we can certainly modify or update the CIP, the capital improvement plan, to capture some of those programs or projects that we have that we're going to be building, such as like the airport terminal building. If there is a desire to move forward with the Eco Discovery Center, it is a possibility if you wanted to use some of the money that sits in tourism as a down payment, and then you could finance the rest, be covered through bed tax collection as far as the debt. That's something we can,
But that utility work we were going to do, down at the southern end of Route 1, I know that FGUA would be doing that, right? Or
Correct. We were working in partnership with FGUA. FGUA had submitted a request. They were going through DEP, as well as the state revolving fund, the SRF loans that are out there for utilities, to try to come up with a project.
would that have to come through us, or would that all be handled by them separately?
It would be handled by them separately. We were trying to go the legislative route to kind of partner with them and kind of expand that, for the development of that area, as well as, additional water and sewer in that corridor.
That was a pretty important thing, I mean, for our future, business-wise. So, okay. But they're just a thought, since now we do have that additional piece of information with the budget signed.
Commissioner Hanson.
Just something hanging from the last workshop. Are we going to vote at some point on the TDC funding to try to add another penny to the beach renourishment? That's something, is that going to come up anytime in the future for us to discuss and vote on?
I think as we move forward with the beach management financing, that you have an opportunity for it to come back. I didn't know if you wanted to have a separate meeting just to talk about the TDC, or we are looking at other opportunities. I did reach out to Greg Pugh at the Dunes District to see if there was an appetite for their board to collect a surcharge on tolls based on the number of trips that they have a year. If they were to levy a quarter surcharge on top of their toll, it would generate about $500,000. If they added 50 cents, we'd get a little over $1 million. They did have a meeting last Friday where they didn't say no, but they were interested in some additional information. So I have it scheduled to attend their meeting in August. So I will put together a presentation to share with their board so that they can, kind of understand what our thought is with that. They'd like to see some sort of a nexus to their property and how that money would be applied. So just trying to work through that. So we are still trying to work on some other funding opportunities. TDC would certainly be part of it. But
Yeah, I was going to say, we have a TDC meeting in July, so maybe we give them an opportunity to
discuss
debate
it.
this and discuss it at
Yeah.
their meeting first.
Maybe they'll do it for us. And if I can just keep going on that subject, I'm getting a lot of pushback on the way we're kind of talking about funding the beach management plan. And the biggest pushback is, why isn't Palm Coast paying? Why aren't we taxing them? And I've discussed it with the mayor, and he seems to think that they would have the votes on their commission, on their council, to support us if we tried to spread it into Palm Coast. So it's just something else, Heidi, to put on your plate. maybe we can do it. Maybe we can. It would sure lessen the hit all around if we had a small tax on the Palm Coast residents. But anyway, just for your information.
Commissioner
My
Pennington.
turn?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
Well, I've been thinking a lot about all the additional buildings we're going to start having added to this budget, staffing and utilities and all of that. And so two things stand out really heavy in this budget. One is, and apologies if it hurts, the HR budget is really excessive for a size of people that the county hires. So I noticed throughout the pattern of memberships, travel, subscriptions, conferences, leadership academies all add up. And when we have staff that really need merit increase and having turnover rates where we need retention bonuses, I would really, urge that we look at that, administration looks at those, has serious scrutiny over those buckets in the future. And then the other thing I would say, and I know this board hasn't talked about it in a while, but and I do like the program, the adult daycare, I think needs to be built out to a program that is more equitable for the cost for the county. So like even if it exists, how do we reach more people so that more residents benefit from the program? That's my 2 cents on that.
Commissioner Sullivan, anything else?
I think
Commissioner O'Brien? Okay. On my side, I like the additional reorg. At least it will help in transparency moving forward with the breakdown. But it is very confusing at this stance to be able to draw comparisons from the prior year to this year. So what I would, and again, it's at the pleasure of the board, but I think if there could be clarification to how, and maybe talk to the directors, have them come, but talk about the reorg and the justifications, and try to do a summary of prior to the reorg and post reorg, just so we can align the expenses and make sure we're looking at the same thing. It seems like it's being hidden somewhat. It's not on purpose or anything. It's just hard to follow. So it would be one suggestion. Same with fire rescue EMS. Having that broken apart is a little hard to follow. Same with finance into the two different departments. IT's reorg. And I had one other question on where does the drug court expenses get aligned?
Drug court is one of your non-general fund departments. It was covered at not the last meeting with the constitutionals, the one before that.
Okay, so one thing that while spending time with Judge Perkins and staff and researching when I spoke at drug court was the realization that their surrounding counties have a veterans drug court and we don't. So I don't know if that's been looked at, what the costs are for a veteran drug court, if we might be able to pull some information from the surrounding counties. I think it's could be very helpful. At least the monies that we invest in drug court save money over the long term significantly. So just wondering if we have.
But Andy, we looked at it 2 years ago,
Okay.
and it didn't look like it would return like
We
drug
did look
court.
at it. I can remember.
Yeah,
Okay.
we did look at it. Maybe it's good to do it again, but 2 years ago, no, it didn't make sense. Because I thought it'd be a wonderful thing to do, and I
Actually
was,
put, maybe, we actually had at one point 25,000 we would leave in the budget
yeah,
for,
to start it.
to start
veterans-
it.
start a
Right,
veterans
that's gone
drug
away,
court.
right? That, we used to have a placeholder with some money for Veterans Drug Court, but that
I'm
was
not
a few
Yeah,
years.
I don't remember if
I'm not
No, we
familiar
did,
with
we
it.
years
did.
ago, but
That was a few years back.
It was a
Okay.
few years back.
Okay.
Yeah.
We looked
Before
at
your
it.
time, anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But maybe it's time to look at it again.
Okay, just a thought. I didn't, I think that's it for now. I think I think that's it for now, but my thoughts. Thank you.
And I think my thought was with the summaries in the beginning, when we had all those different divisions that make up, like in this case, fire rescue, I rolled them all up into one so that you could see what it was the current
Okay.
adopted versus requested. When we break them out, that's where it's hard to see, but like when you look at the total, their budget only went up 2%. I think IT is probably on the next page. General services went up 12. IT here, it went up 14%. Land management, we combined or compressed the two together. So, I mean, if this isn't helpful, I don't know if
Go back
you-
one more. Yeah, I think I'll just go back and pull them out, knowing where they come from. But so at least I can diagram the subparts anyway. Should all make sense. It's in different components right now. That's all. And I would concur. I think right, the ones that stand out are. I would just assume too on our commission budget, we should at least on our commission line item and set an example and just keep it for whatever mandatory increases are. We shouldn't be doing anything except what's mandatory with COLA or with FRS on our commission budget. There shouldn't be anything additional in ours.
There really isn't.
Okay.
So, I mean, you see an increase there, and it's whatever
State statute.
state statute
145,
dictated.
I looked at it.
Our insurance naturally went up. Maybe not everybody takes insurance, but we budget for it. So
Gotcha. All right.
really
Thank you.
didn't go up much.
All right. And at this time, with everybody having their comments, we'll go ahead and open up for public comment. As speakers come to the podium, state your name. You'll have 3 minutes for public comment. Good afternoon.
Okay, Chantal Proninger. And I looked at it a different way from all those documents you have found on the internet linked to the event today. And I looked over from 21-22 to 24-25, so in 3 years. And I looked at the increase in especially salaries and benefits. Some categories like the Board of Commissioner, you have an increase over 3 years of 79.16%. Human Service Resources has benefits increases of 99.53% in 3 years. Administration, communication, 55.99 in 3 years. General Services, Facility Management, 90.40% in 3 years. The ambulance rescue service was the highest, but it was also noted there was a union. So that was an increase of benefits of 178.68%. What could benefits be that high?
Part of the salary study that we had done was probably about 3 years ago. So the increase in salaries that you're seeing were because we had undergone a study to look at what the market rate is so that we can actually recruit and retain staff. So part of that cost was largely related to the salaries being considerably low for the region and for the area.
I was talking about benefits.
Well, the benefits were self-insured, so it's based on our claim experience. So over the last couple of years, the last 2 years alone, our health insurance had gone up.
You say self-insured. So why is the rest of the people paying for it?
We
Just speak to the commission. Speak up here. You're addressing me, not the administrator. We'll answer the questions, but go ahead and state the rest of your comments.
Okay, so the rest of the comments, so same thing, human resources, veteran services, the benefits increase of 204%, and 92. Is still a lot. I'm not sure it goes to the veterans themselves, but it seems to be human resources. Okay. The salaries, let's talk about your own salaries from last year to this year. So if I look at the number you had last year and I divide that by 5, that means 119,479 per person. I mean, it's an average, might not be real, but that's what I get from the numbers I read. And it says also this year would bring you each to 138,098. People in general don't have that increase of their salary. The average increase in 22 was 3.9% and 23, 4.6. So I'd like to understand a little more. And also, I noticed on the board, public transportation. We'd love to see real public transportation buses or, to bring people around. And I've never seen one. I've been here for over 3 years. So I don't know what it means. Medical examiner went up 21%. Okay. The beach replenishment, that's a major one. We don't have a beach in Palm Coast, so you want the mayor to approve that? He'll approve anything you want. He'll tax anything you'd ask for, but we don't have a beach.
Can you finish up? Your 3 minutes are up, but go ahead and finish up.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's pretty much.
We have staff in the back. We have the finance staff. If there's some questions, we'll be happy to answer after the workshop.
You'll have to answer. Good. Thank you. And
Okay.
I'm supposed to write the question there?
You can write them down if you want, and we can get back with you. That would work as well.
The salary, if you need me.
Go ahead.
I did speak with our county attorney regarding the county commission salary because it was news to me. So, believe it or not. So we are tied to statute 145. The state of Florida sets our salary, and it sets our salary for the clerk of court, the sheriff. So it's tied to that. And apparently, and I don't know if Sean knows this, according to Mr. Hadid, we can't reject it. We would still have, yeah, we can't reject it, the salary. So it's tied to population and growth. And so every year it sets itself. So if the population goes down, the salary goes down. If population goes up because of other municipalities voting someone in, it goes up. So it's tied to that, and it's tied to that. So it's the clerk of court, the SOE, our tax collector, the sheriff, all of that's tied to statute 145.
Is that why we have so much increase in population?
This board does not increase like the municipalities. We don't even have utility to hook up to. So
Do you have to
I'm
approve
gonna ask
some
for the next
development? Is
speaker.
that up to you?
sorry,
Is that up to the board to approve new development in a county?
not this
Who does
particular
that?
board. No, ma'am.
I'm going to go ahead and ask for the next speaker.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
I don't know if that's.
Kim Carney, Flagler Beach. Yeah, it's a little hard to stand up here and do this, so just be gentle because it's not easy. Just had a comment more than anything else. I sat in your seat at a different level. However, this budget is a little hard to read. I personally would like to see you're 8 months into 2024. Why don't we have a variance report as to where each department is running based on where they asked you to be last year at this time or this time? Just another column. Your finance folks should be able to do that for you. It's just called variance or year to date. They can extrapolate it out for the whole year. That's what it looks like they gave you the adopted of 23, 24. They can surely give you a where you are year to date for 2024. And just a quick question on COLA. Again, I don't know if this board is tied to an administrative code that's been codified with regard to COLA. If everyone has to get a raise, whether or not they performed at their standard level, or, what about those folks? You did mention merit increases a little bit. What about those folks that got their evaluation, if you're even doing evaluations, and performed way above standard, way above what they were supposed to do? Could not the individual supervisors of that department take from a pool of funds that you guys gave to the administrator and give them a bump? If COLA is codified that you have to give COLA, you might want to rethink COLA or salary increases, especially for folks that are not performing at standard or below standard. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and close public comment. Any last comments from the commission?
I just thank the staff and Heidi. It's hard to go over that whole thing, but I did it. And looking in there, I sometimes wish there was a little more explanation on some of the lines, but I understand room and everything. I'm used to the DOD budget where there's be a couple paragraphs on each line item. So I don't want to go there. But if there could just be a little bit more explanation on some of the stuff, that's all. Otherwise, good job. Thank you.
So I think on the budget, departments that are over 10% variance or year after year really need to justify. So I was thinking along the lines, more information on the bulleting of why they're creeping up like that. And like I said, there's a whole lot of membership, travel subscription, leadership academy. I disagree with having a leadership academy at the time being. I'd rather see retention and merit and something along the lines of COLA and merit only coming to those that perform, And we have to be really mindful. We're going to be bringing on new buildings, new costs and expenditures, and new staffing with what came with legislative asks. And so I'm a little concerned. But I do understand. I mean, when you go through this, you have to think postage has gone up, so postage is going up. Gas has gone up, so gas is going up. Drugs are going up, and there's a lot to this. I understand some of the increases, but I think places that we can cut back, we need to start cutting back. Not every year do we have to go to conference and such. So,
Commissioner Sullivan.
Just very quickly, our Board of County Commissioners and the constitutional officers' salaries, just to reiterate, are determined by the state, not here. In Palm Coast, the mayor's salary and those salaries are not determined by the state. Those are determined by them. So there's a big difference between the constitutionals, us on the county commission, and the other public officials in the county as to who determines what those salaries are. No, that's it.
Thank you. Commissioner O'Brien, nothing else? I think we've covered most of the comments from, at least that I had. I will further address some of the comments later. I think I'll have at least a one-on-one, and then anybody else wanted to submit questions, feel free to submit questions to us. Thank you. With that, we'll adjourn, and we'll meet back here at 5 p.m. for our regular meeting. Thank you.